Hello everybody. This is the first class of Unit 2 on demand and supply. We're going to look at the allocation of resources in society. And this is quite a long one. So we'll start with demand and then we'll move on to supply and then we'll put them both together in a graph. Don't worry, we won't overcomplicate this. We're going to get where we need to go. So let's get started. So these are kind of like syllabus objectives for CIE, IGCSE economics. And yeah, you can pause this, have a look through, but this is what we're going to get through today. Okay, so let's start with demand. For demand itself to be effective and efficient, we need to operate within the rules of perfect competition. So perfect competition is basically an idea that economists made up. It's like of a simulation of a perfect market. It doesn't really exist in real life. We can get close to it, but it's just an idea, a framework in which this demand and supply graph can exist. And here are the 5 rules for this perfect market idea. So we've got lots of buyers and sellers. We've got hundreds of stores selling oranges and we've got thousands of buyers. The products are homogeneous. They're all the same. It might be oranges from the same orange grove somewhere in Italy. Okay. Everyone has perfect information, meaning they can distinguish between good and bad oranges. They know what flavor these type of oranges have and they know the value of them. Also, the firms selling these goods and services, they don't need to pay for licenses to sell them. There's no barriers to entry. They can freely enter or exit the market whenever they want. And the firms are finally price takers. It's the consumers that have all the power. So what the consumers are willing to pay is what the firm must sell at. If the firms sell above that, no one will buy it because the guy next door sells it cheaper. And if the price is too low, the argument is the firm will go out of business. So this is perfect competition concept, okay? The ideas of a perfect market. If you want to remember this, just copy the stuff in bold. Let's move forward. Right, so an example might be a farmer's market where they're all stacked up next to each other with similar products from around the areas. Now, let's crack on with the law of demand. Okay, we're trying to work out this demand line. We need to understand what demand is. So demand is you, the consumer, browsing eBay, looking for things to buy. You might be willing to buy something that you see on eBay, something that you really want, but you might not be able to buy it because you don't have the money. So the main concept of willing and able is really, really important. For example, I'm able to buy Evian water, but it's like super highly priced compared to other water bottles in the supermarket. Therefore, I'm not willing to buy it. We need to be willing and able. So, moving forward. There's an inverse relationship between price and demand. That just means that if price goes up, we as consumers buy less. There's lots of reasons for that we'll go into. And if price goes down, we as consumers will buy more of this good or service. Okay, so here is an example of 2 people and their demand for ice cream. Okay, we can see here that we have price. And when price is super high, Bob is not willing to buy any ice cream. It's too high for him. The price point's too much. However, when the price goes down a little bit, Bob is more inclined to buy some more ice cream. If the price goes down further, he's happy to buy even more. And as the price goes down all the way to 0, Bob runs into the supermarket, takes 12 and runs off. So this is Bob's demand schedule. That's what we call it, a demand schedule. Okay. Now, this is what the graph looks like. Okay. So we have the x-axis where we have the quantity of ice cream, how many pieces of ice cream exist. And then on the y-axis, we have the price of ice cream. So conceptually, what we can see again is as price goes down, people are willing to buy more and more of this ice cream. So can you pause this video and plot this on the graph? All right, so the graph should look like this. This is Bob's demand schedule. Okay, the schedule is listed like this, and this is what his graph looks like. Okay. As price goes down, Bob is willing to buy more and more and more ice cream, okay? There are 2 reasons why this happens, okay? The first reason to explain this line for demand is the substitution effect. So that simply means as price of this ice cream goes down, you have lots of choices. You could choose Magnum ice cream, or you could choose Walls ice cream. Because this Magnum ice cream is now comparatively cheaper compared to Walls ice cream, you're going to buy more of it. So it's just within the market compared to all other products, this one is now comparatively cheaper. We call that the substitution effect. And next we have the income effect, meaning it's cheaper, right? So if you divide the cost of this by your salary, you can buy more. You're comparatively richer, basically. So you just buy more. Does that make sense? I hope so. Let's move on. Now, we had Bob's line, but we need Jeffrey's as well. If we add Bob and Jeffrey's together, that's going to give us the total demand for the market, okay? We can plot them next to each other first. You can plot that on your graph if you wish. Pause the video. Now, if we plot both of these on the graph, we can see that Jeffrey's consumption is lower than Bob's across the scale, right? These lines are not perfect, and they often do these lines like this. Realistically for Jeffrey, for example, we would have a 0 here, a 0 here, and then a 2 here, so the graph would move down like this. But generally, they do a line of best fit in economics, so don't be too stressed about that. It's in the exam, they would not ask you to plot, okay? I just do this exercise to help students understand how to plot the graphs. So yeah, we can see the consumption of Jeffrey is much lower than that of Bob, and we've put this on the graph. Now what we need to do is we need to combine Bob and Jeffrey's purchases together, and that will show us the total market demand for Bob. So this is done in this way. We've got Bob's demand, Jeffrey's demand, and we add them together. And we can see, look, on the scale on the bottom, the scale has now increased. So it's not a matter of adding these lines together and it rises. No, all we're doing is just saying how much at each price are Bob and Jeffrey willing to buy. Oh, see that little mistake on the scale there? Yeah, so we're seeing how much at each price are Bob and Jeffrey willing to pay for each item. So adding these two together, we can see if the price is 0, if it's free, they're going to go into that supermarket and they're going to take 22 between them. In reality, this will probably skew off and they'd probably take as many as they could. We've all seen Black Friday in America. So yeah, this is how we add our different demands together, okay? Now, a quick distinction. A movement along the line is a change in quantity demanded, okay? And if the demand line shifts backwards or shifts forwards, if the demand line shifts backwards or forwards, we call that a shift, okay? So very, very clear and important distinction. It's an exam question that comes up all the time. Movement along the line and a shift of the line. Please remember these distinctions. Okay, let's move on. So let's have a look at some exercises. We can see for these football teams that the price of season tickets is different. Can you pause the video and have a think about why some of these season ticket prices might be different? Okay, well, firstly, Arsenal, Tottenham, and Chelsea. Where are they? They're in London. Is London a cheap place to live or an expensive place to live? Right. The cost of rent's going to be a lot higher, right? The cost of rent for the ground is going to be a lot higher, isn't it? Not only this, does London have a bigger or a smaller population than these other cities? Larger. Therefore, more people means more potential customers. Next, travelers, when they come to the UK, where do they normally come to? The capital city. And do they have a bit more money to splurge? Absolutely. And do they want to see top footballers? Absolutely. So there's a lot of reasons. Okay. What about the average income of people in London? It's going to be pretty high, isn't it, compared to other parts of the world? So, with higher salaries, people are more willing and able to buy these tickets. As I said, higher population, higher incomes, all these things contribute to the price of the ticket being higher. If people weren't interested, the price would naturally get lower. That's called the invisible hand, and we're going to look at that later. So have a look at this between 2014 and 2024. Something's changed here, hasn't it? What significant differences can you see? Firstly, look at Arsenal. They were the most expensive. Now, within 10 years, the price of Arsenal tickets has gone down. What does this indicate? People are less willing to buy tickets at those prices, therefore they had to adjust. For some reason though, Fulham, it's all the way up there, isn't it? Really expensive. I hope someone can explain that one to me in the comments. Fulham wasn't even on the list before that. There's quite a lot of reasons to explain them. The first one is team performance. If the team does better, it's got superstar players, people are going to be more interested in going. Maybe they had a stadium change. Sometimes they add 10,000 more seats, expecting to charge the same price, and boom, they don't. There's empty seats, and therefore they need to lower prices. If they lower some prices, they need to lower all prices. What about recessions? The economy has been struggling ever since the 2008 financial crisis, and it's hard to pick up again. Here's another example. Look at Mercedes-Benz in India. During COVID 2020, look at this huge demand drop when people weren't able to leave the house. Everything is connected to demand when we look at these big global events like recessions. Look at new industries coming in. You see Netflix absolutely smashing it all the way up to 2016, while Blockbuster went and crashed. You know, Blockbuster actually were given the option to buy Netflix and refused it. Biggest mistake of their life, wasn't it? Look at vinyl. No one wanted to buy vinyl anymore. It was big, it was noisy, it was scratchy, you had to carry it everywhere. And look at the resurgence in 2014. Sometimes demand is absolutely unpredictable. So question time then. Why might demand for eggs increase or decrease at every price level? And by this I mean, if I put a line here and a line here, okay, ignore how dodgy they are. Right, we can see that at each price level, at this price, more, I can't even draw an arrow. At this price, more people are buying it. And at this price as well, more people are buying it. So at every price level, people are buying more of this good. The question is why? Well, there are lots of reasons. 5, in fact. The first is income. We're going to go through these one by one. So let me go through them one by one with you. So, income. Usually I ask this to students. If you got $100 a week extra to spend on anything you want, what would you buy more of? For me, it would be posh coffees. And secondly, if your parents did the opposite and they cut the money that you receive, or let's say your job cuts the money you have, what would you buy less of? So the idea in economics is basically, as you get wealthier, you buy more normal or superior goods like Starbucks coffees. And as you get poorer, you buy more lower quality goods like packet coffees. So this directly relates to your demand, how much income you have. And it's explained here with this absolutely handsome frog. It's important to understand like the distinction between these goods, inferior, normal, and superior. They come up all the time in economics. So for me, like I said before, I feel like instant packet coffee is inferior. Low quality, full of sugary junk, doesn't taste that good. Absolutely not for me. Not today, not tomorrow, not next week. Normal good. All right, so we're in the office. We'll make do with this. We've got real ground beans. Yeah, we've even got our own little grinder. Lovely. All right, put that in. Extract some of the flavor and get that real nice coffee hit. Or we can go for a really high-end coffee machine. Or we can go for this superior coffee machine that absolutely rips the flavor from the bean with a high PSI. That's what we want. The taste, the flavor, and the hit. Or maybe not. But these are some examples of inferior to superior, okay? Cars as well. It's a similar concept. When you lose money or you get poorer, you gamble all your money away, you might buy an inferior good. Is if you start to go up in the world and your salary increases and you're doing okay, you might go for a normal good, which is where I'm at right now. And then if you start to make lots of money, you might invest in a Porsche. All right, moving forward. This graph is a little bit different to the demand and supply graph, but it's known as the income effect. Just the idea of what we were explaining a minute ago. Income goes up, the more designer goods you buy go up. It's not a demand and supply graph. It's just showing the connection between your income going up and what you buy more of. So as I said before, your income goes up, you buy more high-end goods. And so this graph here is, the bottom graph is connected to this one. So just the idea basically that incomes have gone up, you just buy more if it's a normal or a luxury good. On the same level, as your income goes up for low quality goods or inferior goods, you buy less. Yeah. So in this case, the graph's going to look like this, where your demand decreases when you get wealthier for low quality goods like packet coffee. All right, moving forward. Ooh. The next one is price of related goods. So this is known as the substitution effect, and we need to understand what related goods are. We call them complements in economics. So these earphones are complements to the computer, if it has Bluetooth, and your phone. Cheese is a complement to bread and crackers. Can you think of complements to all of these? A lot of students didn't know what the one on the right is, but it's not a CD player. It's a hard drive, an old school hard drive. We know now that hard drives are SSD. The game's changed, but complements to that would be all the other components for a computer. Complements to biscuits, tea, coffee. Complements to a toaster, bread, crumpets, those lovely British crumpets. So if iPhones and AirPods are complements, what happens if the price of AirPods decrease? AirPods decrease in price, therefore you're probably going to buy more. And if you're going to buy more AirPods, what are the chances of buying more another iPod? Or an iPhone, sorry. Probably higher, right? A lot of students correctly said it would work better the other way. iPhones go down in price, and you buy more AirPods. So yeah, I agree with them. But this situation can still work, maybe to a lesser extent. So it looks like this. The price of our AirPods has gone down, and we simply buy more. And now we have more AirPods. We want to complement it with other goods, and our total demand line shifts for iPhones, meaning we're willing to buy more iPhones at every price level. All right, moving forward, substitutes. So substitutes is an easy definition, an alternative good. 3 types of yo-yo here when I was a kid. This one was the best for spin, and this one was the smoothest I'd ever had. Loved it. Now, there's substitutes for everything, okay? Substitutes for steak could be pork or tofu. Substitutes for cheese, jam on bread. Substitutes for a cat, a dog. Next question then. iPhones and Samsung phones are substitutes. What happens if the price of iPhones increases? So we can see here on the demand line, the price of the iPhone has simply increased from A to B. So we are now buying less than we bought before, okay? Question then. What happens to Samsung phones? We're buying less iPhones and everyone needs a phone, then they're going to buy more Samsung phones. I hope this is starting to make sense. Next, consumer tastes. So sometimes things just become popular. Think about records that I showed you before. Think about Netflix during COVID. Netflix, as COVID was approaching on the left, demand increased massively. People knew they were going to be inside for ages. After COVID, people just wanted to get outdoors. They've seen all they needed to see on Netflix, and subscriptions diminished. Number 4, expectations about future prices. If you believe the item you buy is going to go up in value later, are you going to buy more now? Of course you are. What if you believe it's going to go down in value later? You wait. Pretty simple concept, right? We can graph that. So this is an example of Thailand, actually. A lot of apartments here that people buy, they go down in value over time. In some countries, they actually appreciate because the land is valuable, but here it's not the case. So people wait to buy. If they think the value is going to go up in the future, they buy now. So on the left, if you think the price is going to increase in the future, your demand for this will go up. And actually, it will increase the price over time. We'll get to that later. But if you think the price is going to go down over time, then you reduce that demand. Finally, the last part that affects our demand curve, number of buyers. If we have immigration in the country, lots of people come in, are we going to have more or less buyers? More, right? And therefore demand will simply go up. It's really that simple for number 5. So increasing population size, demand for most goods and services goes up. Think about the NHS, think about food, think about education, all these things. However, if population decreases, we have a lot of emigration, demand for all goods and services will go down. Right, to finish this class today, got 4 exercises for you. So pause the video, read these exercises on chicken, and try and work out what's going on. So let's start with number 1. The price of chicken goes down. I hope you got this. We have a movement along the line. And that's it. Price of chicken's gone down. Meaning, in comparison to your salary, we have the income effect where you are richer, therefore you buy more. And the substitution effect, chicken is now comparatively cheaper than beef, and therefore you buy more chicken. Number 2. So now we're looking at substitutions. Fish becomes cheaper. If fish becomes cheaper, people are going to buy more fish. As we can see on the left graph, fish becomes cheaper and people buy a higher quantity of fish. And on a night time, they have a choice, right? Am I going to have fish, chicken, or beef? So if they're buying more fish on a night time, they're going to buy less chicken because they are substitutes. Number 3. People's income rises and chicken is a normal or a superior good. So it's considered a good quality good in society and you get richer. Therefore, you're going to buy more chicken. It's going to shift to the right. At every price level, you'll buy more chicken. And finally, a news article comes out that says chicken is really unhealthy compared to red meat. What's going to happen to the general demand for chicken? I hope you got it right. It's going to shift to the left. All right, that's it from me today about demand and supply. We've fully finished demand. Next class is going to be on supply. If you're interested in any other resources, please click the link down below. Have a great day.